I want you guys to have an open mind on today's show as we bring a special guest. Have you ever felt stuck or in a place where you kept doing things and it doesn't matter what you've done, you felt stuck? You felt like you couldn't break through, where you struggle over and over and over. Could it be some dark forces behind that? Could wearing masks on Halloween attract evil forces? Could it open doors to something hunting us down? Let's ask my guest, Alisa Saoni, who's lived through these experiences. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go through some really crazy experiences that she shared with me prior to this episode. And you guys know me. I want you guys to have an open mind. I like to bring different people in the show and having different open mind conversations. So with no further ado, I want to bring to the house Alisa Saoni. How are you, my sister?
Hello, Carlos. How are
It's
you, my brother?
doing amazing. You already
You're in a
know it.
great mood, you know, and I love the green around outside of you there. That was very Halloweenish. So,
Right? You
yeah.
already know, sister. It's about to go down. It's
Now,
Alisa Saoni and Carlos Inspire in the house. For some of you guys that don't know Alisa, my friends, she's a divine warrior and a beacon of love and unity. She possesses ancient knowledge and wisdom about galactic races, UFOs, and humanity's true nature. As a visionary, she is dedicated to preparing us for the 5D Earth, spreading the truth, and uniting souls for a harmonious future. My friend Alisa, let's dive right into it. The Vatican reportedly has a handbook and even a phone number for people who claim to have seen aliens and ghosts.
yeah.
What do you know about this? And how do they determine what is real and what is not, especially they are not there with you? For some of you guys listening to us here, have you ever had an encounter with the ghost or supernatural activity? Did you ever talk to somebody about it? Who did you talk to? So let's have that talk. Let's have that conversation. And for the people that are watching us live, drop your questions and comments below. But my friend Alisa, you are the expert. What can you tell us about that?
About a little over 3 months ago, the Vatican put out a handbook stating that new experiences was going to start happening with the masses. You know, they were saying that you could see UFOs, you can see aliens, you can see aspirations, you can see ghosts, you can see past loved ones, and they actually have an 800 number in there so that if you start experiencing these things, you call them and then they will come and tell you what they think it was, even though they wasn't there. Okay. And they also said that people are going to start seeing what is known as demon face. Okay. And it's because, it starts changing and distorting the faces of people. And they're claiming that it's a new discovered syndrome disease. And it's not. And they came out with that after the last eclipse that we had, which was not an eclipse, it was a portal. But because the energies are different and these things are starting to be exposed, they're coming up with excuses, medical excuses now that if somebody happens to see this, then they're going to think, aliens are here, whatever. But now there's, oh, no, you have a disease, and it's like, and it seems like it's contagious too, because if other people see it and they're not even related, how's it? Yes. And it distorts the face. And what it is you can see through their frequency because it won't hold its frequency. Okay. And therefore, when you see these things, then they want to say that you're the one that's crazy. And there's been people in the past, we have heard that said that they have seen or heard demons or seen demons, but nobody else could see them, and it's because something within them gets shifted and their frequency interrupts with their frequency. So, yeah, those are some Awesome
Very,
picture there, Carlos.
very interesting. For some of you guys that are, listening to us, I'm playing over here with images. You guys know me. I love bringing images and having a good time, giving you guys a visual and idea of what this look like.
Mhm.
Interesting, my friend. I often, say what you see with your eyes might not be what you are truly meant to understand.
That's right.
And Alisa, tell me something. I mean, we had such a great time in the last time we done this a few months ago that we had to have a part two of this segment. People love
Mhm.
the show, and we got so much amazing responses. But I mean, you are an you. I mean, you experience firsthand the strange, the otherworldly. Let's talk about the Halloween night that you discovered your house was haunted. You
Yeah.
saw a reptilian, half
Mhm.
human,
Yeah.
half alien. What was that like? And how did Halloween itself trigger something?
Well, it's just like the Vatican putting out this handbook because the energies is changing and they know that's going to change the people. Well, this also happens throughout the year around the time that we call October or Halloween. The energy kind of dips low. And for them, that's actually a good thing because that's whenever they do their rituals and stuff like that there. So the energy is different and different things can happen. And I just happened to be in a house in Saluda, South Carolina, everybody. And it was an old house that was built in the late 1800s. It was still sitting up on cinder blocks. Okay, this is how old this house was, and even the receptacles and stuff in it hadn't even been grounded. This is how old this house was, but it was livable. And I was there for just about a couple of months, and but I started noticing sounds and like somebody walking across the floor, and I would just blow it off, not thinking much of it. And then it seemed to be a little bit more. And like I said, this here October, it was like the beginning of the month, I started noticing these things. And by the end of the month, it was like, oh no. But I'm sitting in my, well, I have to back up because while I was in that house, I was settling a washer. Okay. And whenever I was settling it, water had ran out from underneath it. And remember, I said the receptacles did not have any grounding in them. Okay. So whenever I got ready to plug up that washer, I seen electricity come out of the receptacle and it hit me. And I actually got electrocuted, right? I woke up in the hospital, had no idea what had happened to me. And they told me that I got electrocuted. And I think that had something to do with it because after that, it's like I said, towards the end of October, um, I'm sitting in my living room, and all of a sudden, I could see people walking through my living room, but they weren't on the floor. It's like they were working on the ground, and I could just see so much of them up walking through the floorboards. And then all of a sudden, as I'm walking where all of them seem to be walking towards the backyard, I'm walking that way, and as I get out there, I can see that there was like it looked like Indian people, American Indian people. And I could see that they are around some people. And there was this one guy that I was seeing his backside to him, and I could tell he was some kind of a shaman. Okay. And I'm like, what's happening? Because this is the property. I know that doesn't exist there. Right. And whenever I turned back to look at the house that I was in, that house wasn't there. It's like all the property is what used to be way before this house was ever built. Right. And I'm observing this. And then this shaman dude, they're chanting everything, and he turns around, right, and he looks right at me, and then my heart stopped because I was like, oh shit, he can see me. I mean, it was a shock to my system. He could see me. And then he starts walking towards me, and then I start getting a little bit of panic because I realize this dude can actually see me. And as he's walking towards me, I can see that he's half reptilian and half American Indian. One of his eyes had a slit, and the other one was normal. And as he's walking towards me, he's chanting. Well, he has these little things in his hand, and he's chanting. And all of a sudden, I'm down, right? I'm on the ground, and I cannot move, right? And it's like no matter what it is, like I was paralyzed. And he's looking right at me, and he's chanting these words. And then all of a sudden, this smoke stuff is coming out of his mouth. I didn't see him smoke anything. It was just something that started coming out of his mouth. And I started getting panicked because I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. And I started screaming for God. It's like, God, please help me. I don't know what's happening. God, please help me. And all of a sudden, this white light from my heart center went out like a light bulb. Poof, like that. And as soon as that happened, all of it was gone. And then I was on the floor in my living room. And I'm telling you, it didn't take me but a couple of hours to get myself and my family out of that house. That's how bad it scared me, because I don't know what happened, but that was my first time seeing a hybrid, if you want to call it, because it was half reptilian, half human, and he was a shaman, but they were doing some kind of a ritual, and then I had found out that that property was also a property that a local sheriff had been murdered in that house. So it's like some kind of things had been happening on that property. But whatever that was, I'm very, very thankful that God pulled me out of it and gave me enough time to get my stuff together and get out.
Wow,
So,
I'm glad that you get out,
yeah.
sister. I hear so many stories, as I travel around the world, especially when you go to like villages, tribal, villages, and it's crazy. It's how much it's out there, the supernatural. I mean, I told you before of an encounter that I had in Brazil, where we stop on the middle of the road, and I
Yeah.
saw a little church built out of wood. We call capella, tiny and falling apart in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the jungle in the Amazon. And now I am, about to pee in the middle of the jungle. And now I see that thing down there, the little capella, looking like a little mini church, is all abandoned and beat up. And I was like, man, this looked like a place where ghosts would hang out and some spirits. But I was like, nah, I don't believe in that. I was just young
Mhm.
and I was like, no, they cannot do nothing to me. Right after I am done saying that, now I am listening to the floor moving like you are a war soldier and you coming on the floor. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, what the heck? I told my boy that was in the car, bro, turn on the right. Let's freaking go. And as he was driving, I start running and I go and I jump through the window in the car. One thing I can tell you from that experience, I never, ever again in my life ever talk any shit or crap about, ghosts or spirits. So because it's so much stuff out there that it's been out, people that
Mhm.
it's just so much that we don't understand. That's why I
Yeah.
want to end this show. And I want you guys listening to us like to be open-minded, because there is a lot of things out there that we can agree that is not an explanation for it, right?
Right.
Some of
You
you
know,
guys might gonna be thinking, oh, this is cuckoo, this is not. But hey, you guys know me. I love everybody. That's why I
right.
like to bring different guests to talk about some of those things. And if
Mhm.
you guys had an experience, if you guys had something, for some of you guys that are watching us live, type in below.
Yeah.
Ask us questions. Alisa will be more than happy to answer. And Alisa, tell me something. I mean, you've spoken about before in some of our conversations about Halloween. We were discussing about topics for this show, and you mentioned something about Halloween being a ritual
Yes.
where people were sacrificed. And you
Mhm.
study, this way more than I mean. That's your subject matter.
Mhm.
And how deep, like, does this history of Halloween's and dark origins they go about people being sacrificed and them using for rituals and things like that? I mean, what are the dangers of these rituals is still being practiced today, as far as you are aware?
Well, this has been going on for like thousands of years. It's something that I want to say that whenever they got exposed, that's whenever they went more like underground or behind the doors and stuff like this here to do it, so they necessarily wouldn't get caught. But then they also got people to be gullible enough to believe that if you want to ward these spirits off, then dress like one, and that way they don't recognize you. But actuality, they wanted people to put masks on so they could walk around amongst us and we not know the difference.
Hmm.
Okay. And this is, like I said, this has been quite a long time. It goes all the way back to even, I want to say, like during the Egyptian times and stuff like this here, because you've even heard people about, putting the lamb's blood over the door. Okay. But that's the same kind of thing, is to ward these things off, because they even knew that these spirits was going to be out and about. Okay. And like I said, but once they got exposed throughout history, is why they came upon this thing. But because the energy is a low energy at that time, we're going to say it takes a dip. Okay. And therefore, that's an opportunity for them to do their vile things. Okay. So they use that energy. And then to make it even worse, if you want to call it that, is that they got us celebrating this for them, to give them all the energy they need to do their rituals, which is, unfortunately, is sacrificing somebody taking somebody's life, or possessing them, or taking their body over, or putting one of the real parasites into somebody's eye. Like the people we see that has the black eye, it's because that worm thing will go into their eye right here, and it wraps around their cortical in the back, and then it takes over the body, and the soul leaves because pretty much the body dies. But that's what a lot of people, that's the initiation that you have to do. It's allowed this thing to come into the body so that it can be the body's just nothing but holding this host. So, and they can do these things around that time because the energy is so low. And as long as we participate in it, then we're giving them a thumbs up. So don't let them feed that energy. Same thing with Christmas and stuff like that. Don't give them the energy, because they're using our energy to do their deeds.
Interesting. As I
Yeah.
often say, history doesn't just repeat itself.
Yeah.
Sometimes it hunts us. But Alisa, there is this chilling idea that the costumes and the masks we wear can attract dark forces. There are people that battle, and we have different opinions about those things. Be interested to hear from you, and I would love to hear from our audience as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that putting on these masks invites entities, demons, or dark forces that could harm us or block our blessings?
Yes. Like, if you participate in it, it does block it, because you're given to the negative energy, not to the positive energy. Okay. And the same thing with Christmas. It might be perceived as a great, wonderful, positive holiday, but it's not. It's all about money. It's all about buy, making people feel bad who don't have, and it's not a really good thing. So, but they use that energy for their purpose instead of us being focused on our own purposes, more positive. Okay. Now there is a lot of people that do a lot of wonderful things for Christmas and stuff like that there, but, and still with the Halloween and Easter and stuff like this here, those are like negative energy dips, and they take advantage of it because our calendar's so off whack. We don't know what. So therefore they made the calendar, they made the days, they made the rituals, and then they got us to participate in it willingly, by saying it's tradition. So yes, tradition for them, not for us, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, I can speak from experience about a situation where when I was young, I was with like a group of kids. I was like very young too, like probably like 7, 8,
Mhm.
and some of my other friends, and they were, playing with the Ouija board. We were like, this thing doesn't work. It's a BS. It's not gonna happen. And then as we were playing with that, the girl that was holding on the cup, it fall. And right after there was a spirit inside the freaking thing, because you're asking questions and it moves around, and
Right.
then the spirit possesses her, and she starts like shaking, and now we
Oh,
all freaking out. We're like, oh shit, this thing exists. We shouldn't be playing with this, And kids, right? We hidden, we
yeah.
think we know it all. And I can tell you from experience, that was the only time that I ever played with.
Right.
And so I can attest that there are a lot of things out there
Hmm.
that I mean, and then guys don't and it's funny because
Yeah,
now,
don't.
like you say, you're talking about the monetizing, and there's a lot of money around these holidays. Like we grew up,
Hmm. Yeah.
with candies and all this stuff. I love giving away candies and doing those things. So, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because I want to hear from our audience. Because if you do those things, right, whether you do or you don't, I love everybody.
Right.
But if you are struggling with something, maybe it is in your relationship, in your job, in your business, with clients, and it doesn't matter what you do, it keeps hunting you down. Those struggles, the
Hmm.
lack, the mental, whatever is that thing. I mean, have you ever played with some of those things, whether it was the Ouija board or opening up and dark stuff? I know that I done mentor and a lot of actors back in the day. Whenever I used to invest in movies and things like that, they would ask me questions, and I remember talking to them and advising them. I would stay away from the horror movies, because
Yeah.
I know many actors, they went to that particular industry, and a lot of them, after filming it,
Hmm.
they were being like, mental health issues, suicidal. It
Hmm.
was almost like a correlation, because
Right.
those haunted movies and horror movies were hunting them down on a whole nother level
Right.
that psychology couldn't explain. Or
Right.
exorcists, they would try to, do an exorcist. Nothing that they would do would work. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's why I wanted to have a conversation like this, because if you guys are struggling, if something's hunting you down, have you ever opened up a portal? Have you ever, when, I don't know, I'm just bringing it out there. I wanted to make, people aware of things and to look at things on a deeper level. But, you know, you have had numerous close encounters, my friend, with reptilians and aliens. I mean, you've been on so many different shows from people from the alien, the UFOs, supernatural space,
Mm-hmm.
talking about those encounters. One particular eerie story involved a man named Jesse
Right.
who took his life in front of you, and reptilians were involved. I mean, can you share that terrifying experience? And what were the reptilians doing during his death? If you could tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, I could definitely tell you that the pure reptilians are a lot different than the hybrids. Okay, and because they're smaller in stature and stuff like this here, with them being the hybrid. But um, uh, unfortunately, my brothers and sisters, I had to learn this a very valuable lesson and seen and witnessed something that was totally unexpected. But it definitely opened me up to realize there's more to this world than what we're being told. And I share this with you because it's true. It was very dramatic, and like I said, I got to see something that most do not. Um, I have a daughter, and her husband is older than me. Okay, and so she loves this man. All right, and I said okay, but apparently he could not function for her like he's supposed to because he was diabetic. So he allowed her to go out and about, which I do not agree with. I never will, and that's just not my thing. But anyway, she met this young man named Jesse, and he had moved in with them as a roommate. And then one thing led to another, and they had a relationship. And then, I mean, that's all I know about that part. The next part is that May 31st, 2017, my daughter calls me at about 10 o'clock at night, and she tells me, she says, Mom, I need you to come down here now. She says, Jesse's in the backyard with a shotgun. And I said, what? She said, yes. I said, call 911. I'm on my way. She's only like a mile and a half down my road here. So I go down there. I took my son with me. And whenever we got there, I went walking up to the trailer. She's in front of the trailer. There's a trailer, and then there's another trailer, and he's behind her trailer, and he's standing next to his car, and he has a street light over him. Okay. And my son walks right on back there. I did not like that because I don't know what this gentleman is doing with this or shotgun, right? So I'm trying to keep my daughter, stable right there and making sure that she did call 911. And then I walk around there to see what's going on. And I could see that Jesse was leaning up against the car underneath the street light. And he had a shotgun with him. And then all of a sudden he says, hello, Miss Alisa. And I says, Jesse, everything's going to be all right. He said, no, ma'am, everything is dark. And I said, Jesse, your loved one needed, my friend. Everything's going to be all right. And he said, no, ma'am, it's dark. And he pulled the trigger. And he was no more than 30 feet away from me, my brothers and sisters.
Wow.
That was very shocking and very horrific. Okay. I don't know why that young man did that, but my son goes in one direction. I go grab my daughter and pin her to the ground so that she can't do anything because I knew it was going to make her, more freaking out. And then my son went and checked his pulse, and of course, he did not make it. But while this gentleman was standing next to the car and he's talking to me, it's like right before he pulled that trigger, I seen these two reptilians standing behind him, and these were not hybrids; these were reptilians. Okay, and it's like I can hear some kind of a hiss and stuff, and it didn't make any sense to me because they're not making any words. It's more like a hissing sound, and that's whenever he tells me, "No, ma'am, it's so dark." And just as soon as he did it, and then these guys just blip out, and I was like, there's more to this world than what we're being told. And that also confirms to me, of all of these people who've gone through so many traumatic moments, or have taken their lives. You don't know why they took their lives. I honestly believe that this young man's life was taken away from him because he was being told to. Okay. I still do not know to this day why he did that. But now here's the kicker after all of this. Okay. My daughter comes to me and tells me that she is pregnant. So I actually have a grandson out of this ordeal.
Wow.
So,
What a story.
yeah.
Wow. I'm so sorry about, your loss and then having to experience such a, traumatic experience. I mean, being so
Yeah.
young and, being over there. And my understanding that you were under the car and then looking at this dude, and now he's looking at you and you're like, oh, shit. And
Yeah.
wow, I can, not even imagine what it was going on in your head. And
When
then,
I seen it, that was the only words that came out of my mouth was, you were loved, wanted, and needed. Because I was trying not to acknowledge what was standing right there next to him. I was focused on talking to him, and it was just, I hope and pray that nobody ever has to see something like that. So,
wow, wow.
but I don't know anything about this young man for me to even know what his life was or anything like this here. I mean, I know some stuff about him now after the fact, but
Yeah.
I have no idea what what made that happen. What was going through that young man's mind? I have no idea.
As I always pray for people, and if you guys are listening to us, I often, whenever I speak on stages, as you guys know, I've been speaking for the last 20 plus years. I help a lot of people get on stages. And every time that we're speaking on a stage, at least is always like 6 to 10% of the crowd that is actually dealing with some type of suicide and major mental health issues. So,
Yeah,
and I always tell people it's a responsibility whenever you get on the stage because they're looking up to us, right? The moment
right.
that I get you on a stage, you're building credibility and authority, and there are some people in that room. There are some people that are gonna be listening to us. They are dealing with some
Yeah,
deep stuff, and I pray that you guys, reach out to others and be careful with that voice that whispers if it's dark. That reach out to other
yeah,
people, reach out to me, reach out to Alisa, reach out to
yeah,
others around your community. That's plenty help out
yeah,
there. Like you were saying earlier, even the Vatican now has a book for
yeah.
people that have encounters with aliens and ghosts
Well,
and paranormal stuff. And,
well,
and Alisa,
I
you
wait a
know,
minute. I don't know if this has anything to do with it or not, but I know that I learned a valuable lesson because that was in 2017 and in 2015. My husband had passed away in a car accident, right? So we all go through the grieving process and stuff like this. So you're trying to find ourselves without our partner, stuff like that. Well, I mean, and it's like I went through that depression myself. I was very, distraught about what happened. So I understand my brothers and sisters whenever you have such a dark night of the soul and there's absolutely no answers in sight. Okay, I understand that. But and I got to a point where I just felt like I couldn't be without this gentleman. I love my husband that much. I just felt like a part of me literally died inside along with him. And so those thoughts crossed my mind. I am no different than anybody else. I was that hurt and that depressed about losing my husband. And I had these conversations with God, and God said, well, don't think about those things. Try to think about the positive things. And I just kept saying this because I hurt so much. I mean, this is how much I was grieving. And God said, well, you need to think about what you are thinking about because you can manifest that if you continue to talk about it. Right. So, and it was like I had these thoughts and feelings about this stuff. And then God's like, well, if I want to show you what's going to happen if that's your decision. And it's no coincidence that God showed me that that young man took his life in front of me and then turned around, a week later said, is that what you want? No, that is not what I want. It changed that perspective in a dime. That is not what I want. I might have felt like that. I might have been down and depressed because I lost somebody, but that's not what I wanted for myself. Because and I've seen what it did to somebody else who I have no idea what was going on in his life. But if he felt anything like I did, I can relate on that point, but not as far as like seeing it through. So
wow, wow. I'm sorry to
yeah.
hear about your husband as well, my friend. I often tell people when I'm speaking on stage, when is the last time that you think about your own thinking?
Mm-hmm.
It's so important that we are self-reflecting and we're going through. I always like to tell people it's not a bad day. It's a God-given building character day. I've been through some hell. Some of you guys that don't know my story, father died in a car explosion. I was 3 months old. Imagine, beautiful story, Romeo and Juliet, that he was about to become a priest, saw my mom, and now no longer. And
Wow.
after something that was very short life. He was in his early 20s, and on the way to school and with his friends, head-on car explosion with a gas truck.
Wow.
Died dead instantly. And I often tell people, if that wasn't enough, my stepfather was murdered. He was set up. That's why I always tell people it's not a bad day. It's a God-given building character day.
Yeah.
And that's why I've been an advocate of love and peace and kindness since I was 7 years old, selling bread on the streets. It's a big dream. It's going to become the best kid selling bread in the block, and I was going to help my friends selling their bread. And eventually I was going to make it. Eventually I was going to get on the stage with all the celebrities and the athletes and the incredible people you guys see on YouTube, on TV. You listen to their musics. Some of these guys, they listen to me nowadays. It's because I used to say when I was a little kid, man, and if you say something over and over and over again, whether it's good or evil, eventually the people around you, they're going to start to believe it. Hitler did for evil. I did it for good. And I spoke life into others around me. And I told God to always bring great people around me where I'm able to have conversations like this, where we can agree to disagree, share a different perspective, and talk about this without people being hating somebody and all this
Right.
stuff that you and I seen out there. And that's what I love, is just to bring the different perspectives and agreeing to disagree, just like we did it back in the day. And Alisa, I want to talk about, what are your thoughts on the thousands of people that go missing every year without a trace? I mean, do you think that could alien abductions explain some of these disappearances, or is that something darker at play?
Well, I think I would say D, all the above. It is two things because the only way that I can actually kind of describe it, it's like a police officer needs to give out tickets, but he has a quota, right? He has a quota that he has to keep up with. Well, these minions and so forth, they have a quota to keep up with too. Because remember, we're commodities. Okay, we can be taken, we can be sold, eaten, taken apart, or whatever. We are a commodity. But it's kind of like, I don't want to call it like a hunting season, but it's kind of like hunting season. That's the reason why it's not a continuous thing. It happens more during the winters than it does during the summers and stuff. Why? Because it's done in darkness. It's done in cloak. Okay, and we stay more indoors whenever it's cooler. Therefore, that we don't see them as much, right? So, but yeah, um,
Wow.
I was just
And tell
trying
me
to think.
something. I mean, the Mayans and the Egyptians, they were incredibly advanced for their time. Do you think their knowledge was gifted to them by extraterrestrials? That's part one. And part
Mm,
two of this question, and what happened to the Mayans who simply vanished?
okay, well, we have heard that like American Indians and so forth saying that they've had these encounters with extraterrestrial that taught them how to do crops, irrigations and stuff like this here, right? To teach them agriculture and stuff like that there. Well, the Mayans, that happened to them too. They weren't necessarily a race faring, a space faring race, but they were like an Indian race, a very advanced one on another planet. The Mayans are not from here, my brothers and sisters. They actually come from another planet. Okay, and their star did go through a solar flash. Okay, not what we're going to be experiencing, something a little bit different. And so uh, they were taken off planet by a group of extraterrestrials called the Zealots. Okay, and they are a African-looking race, but they are advanced technology, and they have the long cylinder cigar-looking shape ones. Okay, and they actually brought them from their world to Earth, and this is before everything got really, really bad. This is where people could still come and go here. Okay, but this was like a place a safe haven to bring this entire race here. Okay, until they can find them another planet. Okay, and that's what they did. They came here, they dropped them off, they built this stuff. They were part of all of the stuff with the Anunnaki, and this is like in the early stages when it was still pretty good. And then whenever it got time for them to leave, They didn't leave anybody here except for the genetics, maybe. But all of those people were taken back to another world at the same time. That's the reason why it just seems like they dropped off the planet. Now, how do you explain that?
Yeah.
How do you explain that? You know?
No,
And,
I
and
mean,
and then there's tribes and all the people that was in the jungles, even over in South America and over in Africa and the Congo and stuff. There's a lot of those buildings like that there. A lot of those types of temples and stuff. And it's like, and the people just disappeared. So where did they go?
that's such an interesting point. I travel quite a bit into those towns and those
Mhm.
villages, and I love the you guys know me. I grew up in the jungles, and my family, we have Indian tribes origins, and I always fascinated by
Mhm.
the history and some of the stuff you cannot just it's hard to trace. And you
Uh,
know you travel to Mexico, and I talked to the Mayans and in the small towns, and I asked
mhm.
lots of questions, and it's
Right.
just some of those things. It's just like you say, it's not nobody can explain, and which makes you think. It makes you be like, wow, what is out there that we don't know? How
Well,
much is
just like
out?
the Hopi talk about the ant people that helped them go down underground whenever the Indus flooding was coming. Those are advanced people too.
Yeah,
That was helping just the American Indians. But I do know that the Mayans are advanced technology now because they've had time to pair up with this here zealots and get this technology and stuff because they are part of several groups in order to be like the key DNA to some of these arcs, like the ones that are in South America that they need the Mayans to actually open the door because of their DNA.
yeah. And
So
you know what's another crazy topic? Experiments, right, that are being done on humans since we can go back
yeah.
to the early, 1800s and the early 1900s. We heard about
Mhm.
many things that happened in Auschwitz and people being them, doing experiments and which, and which speaking of experiments, what's going on with the black left, the the black left eye phenomena? I
Yeah.
mean, and do you believe it's part of an experiment, perhaps like we hear different things like a parasite or
Mhm.
something being implanted into people,
Mhm.
much like I give you guys a visual about the movie The Matrix when they are about to insert
Mhm.
that alien thing into a news
Right.
belly,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I mean, what is your take on that, about those experiments and the black left eye phenomena?
Well, the picture you just showed there with him getting the bug in his thing, that is actually from the Archons because they are advanced AI technology on like they're worse than the Borg because they have no humanness about them, no flesh, no nothing like this. Or they are totally they're almost close to like a biological entity because they can move very fluidly, like they did in the Matrix. You know that those things that was following him in the tunnels, the Sentinels. You notice how they move very easy even though they were mechanical. But the parasite one is like with the Vril Society, and it is like a worm kind of thing that goes through your eye there, and it's kind of like a ritual has to be done with it, and the person that is being done to, just like a child, has to be put in fear because it needs that adrenochrome, even in the adult that the ritual being done to, they need it in their system so that it can kind of like it's kind of like a drug to them, even though it's in us. As they're coming in, they need it, an excretion of it to help them take over the body. And it does, it goes behind, it makes the eye black. We've seen a lot of the famous people, princes and queens and stuff like this here that's had that black eye. It's because that's whenever they put it in that person. Now the real parasite, it can actually go from body to body. Okay, and that's how it can survive for even 1,000 years. Is it just changes bodies, but it will last in that body. We're going to use the queen, you know, and then whenever it was forced to get out of her, you wonder how these people can live to be so friggin' old. Not it wasn't because of good genetics. So, but they do try to hold on to that body for as long as they can before they take that next leap into another body. So, I mean, it's not just they can put a fresh one in there, but that particular one can go from body to body to body, even through generations, my brothers and sisters. And we wonder how these people have come about. Oh, no, that can't be the same person. And it's the same thrill in them, but a different body.
Wow.
So,
Wow. 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 Interesting. Just
yeah.
interesting. Some of those things that are out there. that people have no idea. And Alisa, as we're getting towards the end of this another incredible episode, my friend, what is the best place that people can follow you? They can hang out. Where do you spend the most time on social media?
On YouTube. You can check me out as Alisa Saoni over there at YouTube. And you can also email me at freetheplanet@yahoo.com. And like if you have any questions or anything like that there, you can shoot them at me. But I also wanted to share with my brothers and sisters that the other day was my birthday on the 20th. Okay.
Happy
And
birthday. I know you are 2 days away from my daughters.
anyway, I got this beautiful little dragon. I don't know if y'all can see it, but this is from my friend Kim and Luann. It's a beautiful little dragon that they got for me for my birthday. Yeah, and there you go. And I just think it's absolutely wonderful. And I told them I was going to wear it in this show tonight. And I also got something else, my brothers. Everybody knows me for me, my little Bob, my little alien sitting next to me on a UFO. Well, zoom back in there, Carlos.
Let me put you over here on a solo
Yeah.
layout.
There you go. I got me and Bob put on my arm for my birthday.
Wow, look at that. That's so cool.
You see it? Whoa. There you go. Now you can see me and Bob.
Yeah. For you guys that are listening, she's showing her tattoo of her and Bob on the alien ship.
Yeah.
Super
And then
cool.
I treated myself to one more. And this is called this is my, so sweet like. This is what I call myself, so sweet like. So there you go. I got a rose. Oh, my favorite.
I love it. That's so good. You guys
That was my birthday present to myself. So, and I said, I'm more than that because I do know that the med beds can remove these things. So I figured, why not just live a little bit? So I didn't do nothing extravagant, but I did Bob and me in a little rose.
No, for real, my friend. It's like, like I love people that they like, the native Indians in the Amazon, the stuff that they put, their piercings in their face and their body and their ears. It's like, I respect those things, tattoos and everything.
Right.
It's like, it's a form of expression, right? And whatever people feel like doing it, you know what I mean? It's like, you guys know the drill, man. As long as you're not harming kids or elderly or seniors or cheating or lying, you guys have green points with your brother Carlos. What an incredible episode, Alisa.
Yeah.
So, my friends, I want you guys to follow Alisa. She's on YouTube as Alisa Saoni. That's
Saoni.
ALISA SAONI. Alisa Saoni.
Come check out my music, my brothers and sisters.
Oh yeah, she does
great music over there. So and I want to share that with y'all. So yes.
Yes, and you guys know the deal, my friends. We do this show every Monday. We release a new episode at the Carlos Inspire Show.com on every Monday at 7:17 a.m. Pacific time. We release a new episode. Check it out, the last episode a few months ago that Alisa and I did. You guys go on Google, type in Carlos Inspire Show, Alisa Saoni, and Carlos Cicada, and you'll see the incredible episode that we did. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this one. We, again, get out there. Be careful what you guys are up to on Halloween. And as I always say, man, aliens, ghosts, reptilians, and dark rituals. Tonight, we barely scratch the surface in the hidden connections between those otherworldly phenomena and Halloween. Are we inviting these forces into our lives? Or are they always lurking, awaiting for the right moment? Alisa, my friend, thank you for your incredible insights and personal stories. You are incredible. Remember, the scariest thing isn't the unknown. It's what we refuse to believe. Until next time, stay curious, stay open, and keep questioning everything.
That's right.